Joining me now is U.S. and International Affairs analyst Calvin Dark. He's in Washington. Calvin, great to see you. The issue of gun control has been a major topic in the United States. So let me start by asking you your thoughts on the bipartisan agreement.
Well, I think the first thing to keep in mind is that this isn't even proposed legislation yet. This is a framework of principles that tentatively 10 Republicans, that's what they would need in the Senate to pass it, along with Democrats, have proposed. And as optimistic as I normally am, Congress is known for presenting frameworks and proposals that never actually become legislation to vote on, much less to become law. But when it comes to the actual reforms themselves, I'm cautiously optimistic because it's not really reform, it's more tinkering around the edges. Things like enhancing the background checks, well, that's only from 18 to 21, and it doesn't stop 18, 19, and 20-year-olds from buying assault rifles. It just makes the background screening a little bit more vigorous for them. Also, they're incentive for red flag laws. Red flag laws are where state officials can take away someone's gun if there's a, threat of violence or mental health. It doesn't require that. It only gives states incentives to put those in place if they want to. Clearly, if it's a state where they don't want red flag laws, they're not going to take the incentives. Two really good things, though, that I do think the law does. It closes the boyfriend loophole for domestic violence. Before it was just, your actual spouse or domestic partner, but it can include a boyfriend or girlfriend. And the increased funding for mental health and school safety. Although for schools, I hope we don't turn our schools into prisons or like the airport. Those two things are helpful in my opinion.
Yeah, and Americans are very careful about any restrictions to their freedom. But how quickly do you think lawmakers will follow through on this? You just pointed out that it takes, they're good at putting together frameworks, but bringing this to law or passing this into law might be a challenge.
Well, I hate to make predictions, but here's a timeline that we're going to have to be aware of. When July 4th, U.S. Independence Day, when that recess starts, we're in an election year, which means these senators and members of Congress are going to go back to their districts and they're going to be campaigning for other people if they're not up for re-election. And so if something doesn't get done by the 4th of July, I highly doubt it, because when they come back after the summer recess, it's all midterm elections. So can the Senate write the legislation, debate it, go through the different committees, vote on it, send it to the House of Representatives and then to the White House in a month? That's a tall order.
Wow. And I'm glad that, you mentioned, mental health, and this framework addresses, that important factor in gun violence. But should that cut across board, not just for people who want to buy guns, but to help stem against probably police brutality as well, considering how many African Americans have been either shot at or killed by the police, or in some cases enduring, life-threatening injuries as a result of police being a bit too quick to use their guns?
You're exactly right. Three things that I thought about with that. One is we should have increased mental health care and assistance outside of the gun issue, not just because of it. Two, we shouldn't stigmatize those with mental illness because the vast majority of them are not violent or dangerous. And then three, there are certain things that have been fueling recent mass shootings, such as racism in the Buffalo situation. And we also have bullying and other things. Those aren't mental illnesses to be racist. They're definitely issues, but they're not mental illnesses. And so we need to remember that even when we strengthen our mental health system, that's not going to address a lot of the major impetuses behind the mass shootings and, not even the mass shooting, just the general gun violence that we see in this country.
And let's bring it to the future now, because whether we like it or not, it's all thanks to the Second Amendment, isn't it? That we're in this situation today, the right to bear arms, and Americans love their guns. You think the lawmakers might want to revisit that as well?
Very few times can I say absolutely not. In this country, absolutely not. And I say that because even if you look at the small incremental reforms that are proposed with this bipartisan plan, the National Rifle Association and other gun lobby supporters have already said they don't support it because it's a slippery slope to touching the Second Amendment. If you look at what Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader in the Senate, said about this agreement, which, by the way, he said he hasn't supported yet, he even says nothing against guns, but he wants to make sure that it respects the Second Amendment. Unfortunately, that's an area in the United States where you can't even raise that in political discourse, which I think is unfortunate, but not something to happen in the near future.
I guess we'll have to wait and see, Calvin. We'll keep being positive, won't we, until there are the changes that we... Exactly. Until there are the changes that we need. Calvin, thanks again, and do stay safe.
Thank you.